for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Monday, March 14th, 2022. 73 days into the new year, only 292 days left. Let's do this, man. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of nowhere, a total undisclosed location. But it is beautiful in here. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer, and UNX Networks. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? This week on Fade to Black, it is another completely first-time guests week here on the show. Tonight, for the first time, Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio, joins us. Tomorrow night, Tom Dongo is here from Sedona for the first time. Going to talk about the Bradshaw Ranch. And Wednesday night, Jazz Shaw stopping by for the first time, and we're going to be discussing all of his latest articles in journalism when it comes to UFOs and UAPs. And then Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right, I've got a busy night here on the show tonight, and so let's just get straight to it. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio, and I need as many followers as I can, because I'm trying to catch up with Dave Schrader. And the sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. Come and hang out with us there. We don't bite. And any questions or comments during the show tonight, hashtag F2BQ. Hello to everybody listening and watching all around the world. And busy night, and I am going to get straight to it. Let's get to the breaking news. 80 million Instagram users in Russia were notified that the service will cease as of midnight yesterday, Sunday. An email message from Russia's state communications regulator told users to move their photos and videos from Instagram before it was shut down and encouraged them to switch to Russia's own competitive internet platforms, whatever that means. Russian authorities already had blocked Facebook access back on March 4th, citing discrimination against Russian state media on the platform. Now, check this out. Roughly 60 years ago, an archaeologist snapped photos of several skeletons buried in an 8,000-year-old grave in southern Portugal. Now, a new analysis of those previously undeveloped photos suggests that the oldest human mummies don't hail from Egypt or even Chile, but rather Europe. Mummification was used in ancient Egypt, as we know, about 4,500 years ago. In Europe, dating from about 1000 BC, but the newly identified mummy in Portugal is the oldest ever found and predates the previous record holders. Mummies in the coastal region of Chile's Atacama Desert, by about 1,000 years. And there are signs that other bodies buried at the site may also have been mummified, which suggests that the practice could have been widespread in Portugal at this time. Absolutely incredible breaking news. Now, it has been announced that SNL star Pete Davidson is going to space. He's going to do it on Blue Origin's 20th space mission, which is set to launch in 9 days on March 23rd. The Saturday Night Live star and 5 other people are scheduled to fly to suborbital space aboard Blue Origin's New Shepard vehicle. The liftoff is targeted for 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time from Blue Origin's launch facility in West Texas. Dolly Parton announced today that she's taking herself out of the running for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 2022 class of inductees. That's crazy news. Now, over the weekend, Earth got hit by an asteroid. I bet you didn't know that, did you? Just 2 hours after it was first discovered. Designated 2022 EB5, the small rocky object impacted the planet on March 11th, just north of Iceland. At 9 feet wide, 2022 EB5 was unlikely to cause a tsunami or level an entire city, but it would have sucked if it hit my house. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Michael Caine is 89. The Cider House Rules, The Italian Job, Kingsman, 89 years old. Billy Crystal today is 74. And when I think of Billy Crystal, I just think of the movie Spinal Tap. Quincy Jones today is 89. And our dead guy's birthday today is Albert Einstein. 1879 to 1955, died at the age of 76. Albert is widely acknowledged to be one of the greatest physicists of all time. He developed the theory of relativity, helped develop the theory of quantum mechanics, and both are the 2 pillars of modern physics. His E equals MC squared is called the world's most famous equation, and I say it every time I want to sound smart. He received the 1921 Nobel Prize in Physics, and his intellectual achievements and originality resulted in Einstein becoming synonymous with genius. Albert died at the University Medical Center of Princeton in Plainsboro, New Jersey, on April 18th, 1955, at the age of 76. On this day in history, 1958, the first gold record is awarded to Perry Como for Catch a Falling Star. And here's your Fader fact. This is vetted. This is real. This is a Fader fact. Norway's Princess Martha Louise, the King of Norway's firstborn, is a clairvoyant. She started a school for communicating with angels and dead souls and is currently dating a shaman. That is your Fader fact. Tonight, Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio, joins us for the first time. Tomorrow night, Tom Dongo is here live from Sedona. We're going to be talking about the Bradshaw Ranch. He's also joining us for the first time. Then Wednesday night, Jazz Shaw stopping by, also for the first time, to talk about his latest articles on UFOs and UAPs. Thursday night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. And now I've got a big announcement to make. I'm going to do it right now. After Fade to Black tonight is the premiere of the Paranormal 60 with Dave Schrader. And I'm very excited about this. This is a big deal. I want to welcome Dave over, of course, to the UNX network. But I thought to myself, I'm in a moment, I'm in a spot, and I want to make this announcement. I want to make it special. What do I do? What do I do? Well, I call Dave Schrader and say, Dave, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, Jimmy. Thanks for having me on.
You're the absolute best. And welcome to the KUNX family, man.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I'm glad to be a part of this. As a lot of people know, maybe your listeners are not familiar with, I stepped away from Darkness Radio earlier this year after January 1st, turning the reins over to Tim Dennis after 16 years of hosting the show. And I took a couple of months off, and then I've rebooted now with a new show called The Paranormal 60. It is what it is, a 60-minute concise paranormal podcast where we talk usually to two different guests every episode. We examine different elements of their stories and try to get right to the meat of the story. I'm trying to create the TikTok of the paranormal radio world, Jimmy.
And you're going to pull that off in 60 minutes. And this is what I was thinking when you were telling me about the show. And I was picturing it. I was picturing it like, and I'm just going to say it, Dave, like the 60 minutes of the paranormal world, right? You're going to get in and get out in 60 minutes with nothing but the good stuff.
Yes, that's our hopes. And now, I did, I think, 6 episodes of the Paranormal 60. This last Friday, I introduced the Paranormal 60 Minutes. So we are doing now a news program once a week, and I have 4 correspondents, including myself, that will be talking. We're each bringing news stories we find fascinating. We're going to bandy it back and forth, converse about it. I've got guys that were former military and law enforcement. So I've got some really great perspectives involved in kind of talking about the stories, not just reporting them, but then weighing in on them from our perspective and just having some fun with it. And then Monday nights is more of the interview style shows. So like I said, we'll do an intro. I'll have one guest on and we may talk, like tonight, Lena Swanson is an animal communicator, a spirit animal communicator. And she's going to talk to us about, can dogs, cats, our pets really see spirits? And how do we communicate with our pets telepathically? So we spend a little time with her. Dustin Perry from TV's Ghost Hunters joins me in the second half of the show. And he does a segment called Upon Further Review, which I'm going to tap you for here soon, sir.
Sure.
It's a movie review segment where I send my buddies off to watch some old horror movie that I've chosen or paranormal themed movie. Ones that people may have forgotten about, and have them watch it and kind of review back to me. Does it stand up to time? Is it a classic, or is it a let's just let this be forgotten and never ever talk of it again? And we've had a lot of fun with that. I've had a lot of great little guests pop in and do that. So it's and then tonight scare shares as well. So we've got a bunch of cool, weird paranormal stories from viewers and listeners, and we've got little videos that'll be playing on the YouTube version. You'll hear the audio version on the podcast that's right here on the X network.
Now, how do you choose the subjects? Because underneath paranormal and supernatural, you've got about 150,000 categories, right? So what are you going to focus on with the Paranormal 60?
I don't want to focus on any one specific thing. I'm going to leave conspiracies out of it, right? Pretty much, because that's just not my realm. And I've stepped away from doing true crime unless it has a paranormal element to it. That just got too dark and was really bogging me down mentally after doing 10 years of reporting on true crime. So this will be everything from ghosts to UFOs, Bigfoot, psychic phenomena, monsters, myths, legends, and just exploring all the different fun aspects of these stories. And like I said, each interview, and I joked around at the beginning saying it's the TikTok generation program, but people are consuming our type of shows in a different way now, and they want short and concise in some matters. So I'm going to be the alternative to guys like you who do great long form interviews. Mm-hmm. Now they can come in, hear a segment with me and the guest here, kind of the meat. I'd rather leave them wanting more than wishing they would have been let go 30 minutes ago with me.
Right.
So I'm trying to have a little bit of fun with it and keep it fresh and moving. For me, 16, 17 years of doing long form. I'm leaving that to Tim to deal with on Darkness Radio now. I'm just going to do this my way and kind of have a little bit more fun with it. I'm introducing new segments. I've got experts that'll pop in and do little bits, and sometimes guests that'll come on just to answer a specific question from a listener, and that'll be all we have them on for. So we're just going to try to mix it up as we go along, and it's wherever the wind takes me. I've got some interesting shows coming up on psychic detectives. And I've got some interesting shows coming up on witchcraft and witches that we're going to look at, how to ghost hunt the witchcraft way, and different topics like that. So I'm just trying to keep it moving and interesting.
Now, while I've got you, and this is great. I mean, I know that we talk a lot off of the air, but having you on, I just enjoy our conversations. And you just stirred the pot right there with me when you mention old horror movies. And do they still stand up? Now, when you say that, give me Give me an idea. What movie pops in your head first?
All right. The first one I sent Jeff Belanger, who's a longtime friend of mine. I asked him to do the first one, and I sent him to watch Night of the Lepus. Are you familiar with that movie?
I am.
The giant mutant rabbits.
Yes,
and,
yes.
It's got DeForest Kelly. It's got Janet Leigh. I mean, it's got some big names attached to this movie, and we cannot figure out why. But and then I had Shane Pittman from the Holzer Files on, my co-investigator who I always sent to the basement, and I made him watch a 1977 movie called Don't Look in the Basement.
Oh, that's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
That's up there. That's up there, man.
Yeah, and so it's just whatever whim hits me tonight. I'll tell you what. I'll give you a little preview of it. Dustin Perry. I sent him to watch a movie to kind of tie in with the first guest, Animal Communication. So I said, I'm going to send you into what I think was one of the first cinematic titans coming together. When you think of Schwarzenegger and Stallone, you had to wait until the 2000s to see the two of them share the screen.
Sure.
I'm talking a movie from 1980 when two of these stars were at their apex, at their zenith of popularity. Benji and Chevy Chase in the movie Oh Heavenly Dog. Which was, I don't know if you remember it. It was a great little deal. Chevy Chase is a private detective who gets murdered and gets reincarnated into Benji, and he has to try to solve his own murder.
It's awesome. It's an awesome movie. It's an awesome movie. And okay, now, and let me throw this out there because I'm a big fan of old horror and old sci-fi. I just love it. I watch it all the time, and way too much, like an unhealthy amount, I might add. I just recently went back and watched the original The Mummy, and then I followed that up with The Mummy Returns. Okay, Boris Karloff.
Right.
Terrified me. Now, when I was a kid watching it, in 1970 in black and white on Channel 32 in Chicago or whatever, creature features.
Right.
Right.
WFLD. I watched those. I was in Chicago at the same time.
It scared me to death, right? Okay, so it still holds up. It still holds up, and we're talking about 1932.
Yeah, but those classic Universal monster movies were done so brilliantly that you can watch them today and they still hold the same charm and fright, and you get that kind of perspective that I think a lot of people miss out on because they don't want to watch black and white movies.
Right.
And when you watch the original Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, the creature from the Black Lagoon, the Mummy, it transports you. Right. Even going in Night of the Living Dead, and seeing some of these classics, and you realize it never hit me until I was out in California 2 years ago and I was doing one of the studio tours, and they were talking about the popularity of the monster movies. And they said, do you know when those were the best is during cataclysmic times, when it was wartime or depression or things that were going on. People were drawn to the horror movies and they exploded in theaters. And I just thought that was an interesting way. And I think because that cyclical nature continues, people are still drawn to those originals. The Bride of Frankenstein. You don't see horror movies done that way. Now we're all about the special effects. We've strayed from storytelling in a lot of ways that I think, I don't need to see a retelling of a classic story unless you're going to make it a good story and character-driven development.
When I was probably 8, I'm going to guess, right? The original Dracula. And that movie affected me so much. And I don't know.
Wait, did you just admit that you were 8 when the original Dracula came out in 1932?
That's right. That's
what?
Right.
You look great, Jimmy.
I'm 92.
It's all of those supplements.
It's all those supplements. And there was this line that to this day, I can't wait for it to come up. I was 8, and I don't know how, but it was that scene when Dracula, his assistant has arrived for the first time, and they go and they open up a bottle of wine, and the assistant pours wine, and he offers some to Dracula, and Dracula goes, "I don't drink wine." Right? And
it's a little foreshadowing. Yeah.
For my entire life, I don't drink wine. it's like one of the best lines ever. And it just freaked me. Well, then what do you drink, bro? Blood. Oh, it just stuck with me. I love old horror movies. And let me throw another one out there that I still think holds up. The original, The Thing.
Yes, I agree. But John Carpenter's version of The Thing, and then the reimagined sequel, prequel that came out a few years ago was a great movie as well. So that's fascinating. How about don't forget the Body Snatchers?
Oh man,
right?
Yeah, and starring
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and then they did Body Snatchers in the 70s with Leonard Nimoy and God, now I can't think of the other actors in it, but they had these great Donald Sutherland, right? And the original was great. McCarty, and then this one, Kevin McCarty.
Yep. Kevin McCarty. Who was really great in Strategic Air Command, right? So I'm going to tell you a quick Kevin McCarty story. I'm going to do this in 60 seconds. Working at this audio repair place, right? I'm like a manager. And he comes in and needs something repaired, speakers or something. And his granddaughter took dance classes next door, right? So he stops in and I go, dude, Strategic Air Command. He goes, yeah, man, that was a great movie. Not my favorite, though. I said, oh, really? What's your favorite? Body Snatchers. Straight from Kevin's mouth, man. Yep. Straight from Kevin's mouth. And it was just, even for him, because that movie, the original version of it, Donald Sutherland and the remake was that was a Class A film. There's nothing wrong with that film.
Right.
But the original with Kevin McCarthy, that was original in concept and just a frightening movie. It was just scary, and it was his favorite.
And that's what I love, revisiting some of these classics that a lot of people may not remember, may not have heard of. And look, a lot of my friends have seen horror movies or they've seen paranormal themed movies. And what I've enjoyed is the challenge of sending them in to watch a movie they have never heard of or seen yet.
Here, I'm going to give you one other one. Here, take out your pen, put the pie down.
Okay.
Take out a pen.
Don't you ever tell me to put my pie down, Jimmy. All right, what have we got?
Don't be afraid of the dark.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be afraid. I watched it again. That movie, man, I think that was made for television. Probably came out in 72 and saw it on TV. And here I am in 2022 still talking about it. Don't be afraid of the dark.
Here's a great horror movie that does not get its justice or its due. You can't even find it on any of the streaming services, not even on YouTube. And it was a movie called The Other.
What is that? Hold on. Let me write that down.
Yeah.
Well, how do I watch it then?
Not The Others, which was Nicole Kidman. It's called The Other. And it's about these two twin boys growing up at like the turn of the century. And there's everything from kind of remote viewing and gypsy lore, and just it's chaotic through this entire thing. And you're following kind of these one good twin and one kind of darker, more evil twin. And yeah, I think it was John Ritter's first movie. He's a bit player in the movie, but it's just Uta Hagen is in it. There's a lot of great actors that are just powerful in their delivery. You could find it on DVD on Amazon, but you can't find a streaming version of it. So if you can ever locate it, watch it. I promise you it will be one that sets you back going, if we're going to recreate all of these crap movies, why aren't we looking at a classic like this that is good storytelling that they missed out on and bring it back?
Now, you've got such a busy schedule. Now, Paranormal 60 is Monday nights.
Right.
And you are releasing content once a week?
Twice a week. We're going to be doing an episode of Paranormal 60 Monday nights right after your show.
Right.
And then I've been talking with Race about we're doing a second show during the week called the Paranormal 60 Minutes, which is a news show. And we'll kind of cover some of the cool headlines from this past week, some of the weird stuff that falls into the realm that we're so fascinated by. And that I'll be releasing as a podcast on Fridays. straight to podcast, I believe. Ray said that he might just put it into rotation so it's on the Onyx network playing throughout the day and at different times. So you can keep listening and you'll find us as we progress with that one as well.
Man, I got to get my Dave Schrader fix. The more the better, man. And welcome to the family, my friend.
Thank you.
We've been working on. I'm going to let the audience know we've been working on this for a while, and here we are. We're pulling this off, and the premiere is tonight. And it couldn't make me happier. Dave Schrader, you're the absolute very best, my friend.
Hey, thank you. And thank you for encouraging Onyx to bring me on. If I could make one quick mention, go to darknessevents.com, folks. I've got a cool event coming up at the Randolph Asylum Memorial Day weekend. Holzer Files road trip, I guess. Shane Pittman and myself are going to be there along with Jeff Belanger, Kitsy Duncan, Stormy Daniels. We're going to be investigating. We've got 2 days of talks, a paranormal pizza party on Friday. Overnight ghost hunts. It's going to be a blast. Tickets are on sale. We have single day and full weekend tickets at darknessevents.com. And I hope your listeners will join us as we go out there. And I hope they'll check out Paranormal 60.
Wait. Mm-hmm. Did you say Stormy Daniels?
Yes, I did.
Stormy Daniels, paranormal investigator.
Yes, she's got a program called Spooky Babes, where she goes out with some of her friends to investigate some of these locations. And her fascination has been for years with the supernatural. And she's had paranormal experiences. She's a practicing witch. And as a matter of fact, in the news, not even a month ago, she was just dragged back into the news because her former attorney, Michael Avenatti, was brought back into trial because the FBI, while researching all the other fraud and things he'd done, came across the $300,000 in checks he had stolen from Stormy Daniels. So she became their key witness. He fired his attorney and became his own attorney and went on the attack of the paranormal. He went after her for 6 hours of cross-examination, challenging that she's a witch. She must be crazy. She's seeing the paranormal. She must be crazy. She has a haunted doll. She must be crazy and not to be believed. So it's a fascinating deal, and she stood up for herself on this, man. She held into court for 6 hours respectfully, and she loves paranormal. She's a great investigator. She really enjoys doing this, and it's her first time to come on out to one of these events with us. So I know there's controversy that always surrounds it, but I look past the controversy, and I just look at somebody that shares a passion in what we do and going out to these locations, and she's bringing Susie, her haunted doll, that helps her communicate and connect with the other spirits. Jeff Belanger from Ghost Adventures, he's the lead writer for the entire series, and you've seen him at tons of conferences, and he's on shock docs left and right. Myself and Shane Pittman will be there. So we're just going to have a great weekend, and I'll get Stormy on your show here.
Dave, you are the absolute best. You are the absolute best. And tell Stormy I said hello, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much, Dave.
Take care. See you soon.
Dave
Bye-bye.
Schrader, premiering after Fade to Black tonight, The Paranormal 60. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, it's Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio, joining us for the first time. This is Fade to Black on the KUNX and Game Changer Networks. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with me. I'll be right back.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from Rivermoon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the unxnetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the unxnetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UNX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time.
It's new.
It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What an amazing week we've got on the show. We have three first-time guests this week. Dave Scott tonight from Spaced Out Radio is joining us. We've got a crazy night ahead. And I'll get to more of that in just a second. It is a true doubleheader with an overlap in the middle. It's going to be awesome. And then tomorrow night, Tom Dongo joins us from Sedona. Going to discuss the Bradshaw Ranch, also first-time guest. And then Wednesday night, Jazz Shaw is stopping by, another first-time guest. What a great week on the show. I love first-time guests, especially after 2,000 shows, and still first-time guests are in order. Tonight is Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio. And he broadcasts worldwide out of British Columbia, Canada. This cutting-edge alternative radio show can be heard Monday through Friday at spacedoutradio.com. He received a diploma in broadcast communications from one of Canada's top broadcasting schools, BCIT, in 1998. Spent 10 years in radio and sports. Does that sound familiar? Before dropping all of that and pursuing this stuff. That's right. We're going to discuss tonight how he got here, and we're going to do all of that. And then 2014, he launched Spaced Out Radio, and now He's my competition. I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Dave Scott. Dave, how you doing, my brother?
Jimmy, so much for having me with you, man. It's been a long time coming, but we're glad to have this opportunity to be on with you.
Yeah, we've been pulling this string for a long time, and it was just kind of one of those things where it was just like church, and I was like, Scott, let's go, man. Let's get this thing out of the way. But you get the first-time guest disclaimer, Dave Scott.
Oh, do I?
Yeah, you do, which is, Dave, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends, and where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends. But we're going to end as friends. We're already friends, but there you go. There's the first-time guest disclaimer. And here, I kind of, okay, let me lay this out for everybody really quick so you can kind of understand what's going to go on tonight. And hopefully we are going to have a ton of technical issues, and you can watch Dave and I steer through this in real time. But Dave's going to be on with us for the next hour and a half. Then we're going to do in the middle a simulcast. So we're going to be on each other's show at the same time. And then Fade to Black is going to end. And then I'm going to join Dave with Nicole Sakic over at Spaced Out Radio tonight. That's crazy, man.
It is, but why not? Not enough people are doing this, so why don't we just give it a try? And you approached me about a week ago and said, hey, man, what do you think about this? And I'm like, sure, what the hell? Let's just do it.
Let's just ask for problems. Yeah, it's live radio. Let's just go. Now, I wanted to start out here that this community of ours loves drama, and they really want. I mean, I just had Dave Schrader on the show. Dave's one of my close friends. He's a good friend of yours, and we're the best of friends. No drama. And you have Spaced Out Radio. I've got Fade to Black. We overlap each night and things. But people want us to not be friends, right? Why do you think that is?
You know what? I think because people just are always looking for something to put their hat on. And, I'm kind of the new guy on the block compared to you and Dave Schrader, who I absolutely idolize in this field, with a number of other people, Jim. And, when I started my time slot, originally I was only 2 hours, going from 10 to midnight. And then I extended it by an hour because my audience kept growing and wanted to do that. But you know what? There's enough radio for anybody and everybody. A lot of your audience will listen to my replays either afterwards or they'll come in, the next day and listen to the podcast side of things on iHeartRadio or Spotify or someplace like that, or on YouTube. And there's plenty of time for all of us. And the one thing that I think we need to kind of band together with is we're all trying to provide professional broadcasting in this field. I mean, there's a ton of great podcasters out there. There's a ton of high quality people, but there's not a lot of old radio guys like you or me or Schrader or anybody like that who are still pushing the limits of what we need to do on a nightly basis. And, I've never tried to steal your audience. I've never tried to steal Dave's, just trying to build my own. And, some people, they think, well, that's got to be intention. You got to not like the next guy beside you. No, man. Why does it have to be that way?
Right.
Why can't we just all share and get along? And, some people are going to listen to me. Some people are going to listen to Dave. Some people are going to listen to you. And if it means hitting my podcast up on the next day because they're live with you, I am A-okay with that.
Well, I was okay with all of that until you started hanging guitars in the background. And so I was like, that's it. I'm stealing every Dave Scott guest and audience member that I can.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll give you the guitars. I'll give you the emails that you need. Why not? You know what? Seriously, though, Jim, when I came into this field in 2014, I left terrestrial radio in Vancouver. And you and I actually have a lot in common. We're both sports broadcasters.
Right.
And you know what it's like when you're walking around the press box, getting the fresh food and the popcorn and drinks and all that, going into the dressing rooms after the game and getting your 5-7 minutes audio that you now have to cut up. And, I didn't know anything. When I came into this field at 14, man, I knew nobody. The only two people I knew were obviously Art Bell and George Norrie. And I was so unfamiliar. When I left terrestrial radio in 2007, I was so disgusted with it, with the lack of pay, the lack of respect, and everything that a number of us were getting at the radio stations in Vancouver where I worked and where my friends worked, that I turned it off. I turned it off, and I was, strictly satellite radio from then on in. And a good friend of ours, Johnny Enoch, I had met him in 2014. And Johnny's like, dude, we got to get you back on the radio. And I was like, you just can't walk into a radio station, man, and say, hey, I'm going to take that nighttime slot. Give it to me. I said, that's not how it works. He goes, no, there's this online thing. And we started off on Blog Talk Radio, as horrific as that sounds now.
Right.
And that's how we kind of started to do it. And I figured, you know what? I'll go big or I'll go home. And I knew nothing about yourself or Dave Schrader or the 10,000 other podcasts that were out there. I was extremely naive. And I think if I would have known, I don't know if I would have been up to the challenge. I really don't. And I think that naivety kind of helped build what we're doing here. But the guitars, you asked about the guitars in my studio. I had never seen your studio with the guitars until after I had mine hung up. And I'm just learning. I wanted guitars in my life. My parents never let me play guitar. I had, my parents literally had two 50s and a 70s, and they've been stuck on that music ever since. So I don't know what the hell happened to Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix and all of this in my house. But at 39 years old, I got my first guitar, and I just fell in love with them ever since. And my 8-year-old son is in guitar lessons. He's a little metalhead, and I absolutely love it. I mean, my kid walks around singing Pantera's Cowboys from Hell around the house. I'm okay with that. I'm very much okay.
Well,
with
that's
that.
a great out. If there's going to be one to steer him into the dark side, that's the one right there. If that's going to get him playing guitar, I wanted to back up for a second, because the sports thing between us is a very interesting one. Yeah. And I used sports. I knew that what I wanted to do was do this show, right? Or, go host Coast to Coast and whatever. But I needed to get my foot in the door in radio. Right. And so I used sports to do that. I thought that would be the easiest way to get into it. And once I was there, then I would take the right hand turn and do the paranormal and UFOs and conspiracy, what I'm doing now. Did you have visions in sports of eventually doing something like this?
Absolutely not. My whole goal was to try and get a job in the NHL. Okay. I wanted to either get into the coaching capacity or at least the media capacity of that, scouting, everything like that. And in 2007, right before I left the radio business, up in Vancouver, they had what we call the Memorial Cup, which is junior hockey's national championship. Very, very big. It's for kids 16 to 20 years old who are going to be drafted. A lot of them are going to get drafted into the NHL and play. And I actually had it lined up with the Edmonton Oilers head scout at that time, a gentleman named Stu McGregor, who I had actually garnered enough steam to approach him. And I had known Stu McGregor through my dad, through minor hockey, since I was about 12 years old. And I hadn't talked to him since I was about 17. And so I walked up to him in the press box during the Memorial Cup, and I'm like, hey, Mr. McGregor, I don't know if you remember me or not, and this is who I am. And he goes, what are you doing here? What are you doing now? Great to see you. We shook hands, and I'm like, I'm only in media because I want to get a job in the NHL. And the Edmonton Oilers are my number one team since childhood. And I would love to break in as a what they call a bird dog scout. The only thing I'm asking for, man, is business cards. That's it. It's all I want. And he's like, call me. He goes, let's set something up. And literally, I worked for this the maniacal management of radio of certain people. The egos are horrible.
Yes.
Horrible. And I worked for one of those men who absolutely destroyed any love I had for radio. And I knew it was time to get out. And at that time, I was separated from my wife at the time, and I figured, you know what? I want to get my family back. I want to just move on. Let's do it all right. And I literally quit radio because of this dude, started a new job in the financing field after that. And 2 days later, I find out my ex-wife has a boyfriend. And I'm like, I'm done. Like I got so depressed, I didn't even pick up the phone to call the Edmonton Oilers back.
Wow. Now, what year was this?
2007.
Okay, because in 2011, you start Spaced Out Radio in 2014.
Yeah.
In 2011, you had your I guess you would call it a paranormal experience.
Yeah.
With contact with what you have called the angel of death. Now, tell me about that. What are we talking about here? What happened?
Well, it was the weirdest thing because my partner, she was very much into the woo back then. You know, she would go to her little meditation meetings with all the friends, and I'd make fun of that because I'm a sports guy, man. We don't do that kind of stuff, but she was all into it. And at our house, it was December 13th, 2011, at about 7:45 p.m. And we had a early Christmas for my daughter because my daughter was going away with her mom's parents over Christmas and New Year's. And my parents, I figured, you know what? We'll bring my parents over, my sisters or cousins. We'll give her a nice Christmas where she could open up all her gifts beforehand instead of waiting until after the New Year when we got to see her again. So my parents come over, and there's a Canucks game on TV. They're playing San Jose. And at about 7:45, old Dave and Phil, my parents, they decide they're going to take off and leave because, Dancing with the Stars, literally, this is true. Dancing with the Stars was more important at the top of the hour to get home to than to spend time with the family. Right. And, how can you argue that? It's Dancing with the Stars, right? As I roll my eyes saying that. And anyways, so my mom is in my kitchen, and I'm kind of pissed off that my parents are leaving. And I go into the dining room, in the living room, and I'm cleaning up plates and drinking glasses, bringing them into the kitchen to help put them in the dishwasher. And my mom is in the kitchen, and I figure, okay, I'll go give my mom a hug. And there's a doorway in between my kitchen and my dining room. And dude, my mom is right there. I go to step into the doorway, have my arms open to give my mom a hug. And all of a sudden, everything around me has stopped. There's no sound of the Canucks game on television. There's like 18 people in that room, man, and not a single one of them is making noise. And my mom looks at me, and my mom's got these beautiful blue eyes, man, and her eyes are jet black, and her pupils are white. And I kind of turn my head like, what the heck is this? And my mom kind of gets this shocked look on her face. And she kind of like, oh, you see me. And immediately, man, I got sick to my stomach and I wanted to cry because I knew I was looking into the eyes of the angel of death. And don't ask me how. I don't know how. I just knew. And I gave my mom shook her head. All of a sudden, the sound is back on the television. People are talking in the room. My mom comes in, gives me a hug. Her eyes are back to blue, and she walks to the doorway like nothing happened. This all in about a span of about 4 seconds. I take off to my bedroom. My partner comes down and she goes, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I just saw the angel of death in my mother's eyes, and I'm going to cry." And she goes, "Well, gather your thoughts. We still got people here. Go to the door. Wish your parents good night." So I manned up. I went and did that, and walked back into the house. We have other company, and the night went on, and I was just kind of out of it for the rest of the night. So at about 10 o'clock, everybody left, and we're cleaning up. My daughter is in bed. My stepdaughter is in bed, and my partner takes me into the living room. And we've got 2 couches with a table set up in between with a candle going, because now she's going to perform some woo right there, And I'm like, she's like, "Just sit down, relax, and tell me what happened. Tell me what you saw." So I sit back, I close my eyes, I start reacting. And next thing I know, dude, God is my witness. A lot of your listeners may not believe me, but that's fine. I actually started channeling the angel of death. And he told me that my mother was truly sick. She had battled cancer twice, and that she was not doing well. And he basically said next that if you as a family decide not to treat her with more love and more respect, that he was going to take her home. He didn't say heaven. He didn't say hell. The only thing he said was take her home. And I was like, okay, how do I do that? And he told me, start calling your family and tell them to start phoning your mom more, hanging out with mom more, and everything. And I followed that, man. I followed it to a T. Called my aunts, my uncles, my sisters, and everybody believed me.
Holy crap, Dave.
Yeah.
Holy crap. And we're going to stay right here. You said earlier, in the sports world, right? In the professional broadcasting world, this isn't what we do. And now you've seriously jumped into the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
Where was your mind at with all of this?
At that time, it was like, what the hell is happening?
Right.
What is going on? Like, why is this happening? All of a sudden, within a day or two, man, my kids are seeing ghosts in my house.
Oh,
everything paranormal. It was like the light switch turned on, and everything started happening. And we started over a couple weeks, we started getting weirded out because there was all this paranormal stuff now happening. Like, you would hear, literally, we'd be sitting right watching television in our recliners, and right beside us is the stairway to go down to the basement, and you would hear footsteps like duh, 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 going downstairs. That never happened before, and all of a sudden everything started happening. And we were lucky because of my partner working on her meditation and what I thought was all BS at the time.
Right.
She was working with this gentleman named Pascal. And so one day she decides it's time to get Pascal involved with old Davey here, because I didn't know what the hell was happening. So Pascal comes I go to one of these meditation things and meet him, and he's a giant of a man. He's like 6'3", 6'4", about 330 pounds. And Jimmy, his hands are about the size of a Sasquatch's. And when he shakes hands, his hands are soft, but he squeezes your hand just to let you know that, yes, I was an offensive lineman in football. Right.
Right.
And I remember him and I one day, he came over for a tea, because he doesn't drink coffee. It was tea. And he comes over and he goes, "You and I are going to go for a little drive." And I said, "Where are we going?" He goes, "Wherever we end up." And I didn't feel comfortable doing that, but I got in the car anyways. And we get about, 2 miles from my house. And he says to me, "How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go?" And I said, "Well, I'm having all this stuff going on. Let's just do it." And that's where it all began. And that's where all these weird experiences started coming.
Let me ask you that. Do you still live in the same house?
No.
Okay.
No, I moved in 2015 and moved up north to central British Columbia. I'm in the middle of the mountains now.
Because I'm asking because you had posted, I think it was last year, a couple of years ago. It just cracked me up. Bears in the trees, right?
Yeah.
At your house. And so I was wondering if that was the same house.
No, but yeah, we got a lot of bears around here. Funny story. My 8-year-old was outside in late in summer, and he's sitting on the patio because our house is in a cul-de-sac, and his buddies live 2 doors down, and one's kitty corner right across the street from us. And he's sitting there waiting for his buddies to come out after dinner. All of a sudden, he opens the door, and he's panting, "Bear, bear, bear." I'm like, "What happened, son?" And so he's like, "Daddy, I was sitting on the patio, man, and all of a sudden I see this deer running down the street." And I was like, "That's weird." And then all of a sudden there was a bear chasing the deer right down the middle of the street. And I was scared the bear was going to turn in and come see me. So I ran in the house, and I'm like, "Oh, man." So I, being a stupid lumberjack Canadian, I said, "Well, let's go find the bear." And, we walk into where the bear ran into the forest at the end of the cul-de-sac. And, first tree, we go on in, and we're on alert. And just my boy and I, and, about 40 feet up, there's the bear standing in the tree. It's kind of cool.
It was so funny before we head to the break. So Dave posts this video. I forget my comment on it, but he's like, "There's my house. There's the tree. There's the bear." I'm like, "Holy crap." And then he posted another video. You were in your car, right?
Yeah.
And you pulled up, you rolled down the window, and this bear just crawls up into the tree, right? And I forget my comment, but it was a holy crap comment. It was like, "Oh man, really?"
Oh yeah, it was awesome. That's yearly.
Man, all I have in the desert are like baby lizards. I don't have much out here. We need to take a break. We've got a busy night tonight, so I'm going to let everybody know what's cracking. All right, Dave's going to be on with us for the next hour, and then we're going to go into a simulcast, and then we're going to be doing both shows at the same time. Then we'll wrap Fade to Black, and then I'm going to be over on Dave's show later on tonight. So we've got a busy night, and a guaranteed technical snafu will happen at least once. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, for the first time, Dave Scott of Spaced Out Radio on the KUNX and Game Changer Networks. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Take a quick break. We'll be right back. More with Dave Scott. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hi, Race Hobbs with the X. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you have an interest in unexplained phenomena like ghosts, Bigfoot, and UFOs. And by now, you know that we have our own X blog, the UnX newsletter, and the UnX magazine quarterly. But most of you don't know that we have started our very own paranormal conference. And this year, for safety, this 2-day XCon will be virtual, so you can attend from the comfort of your home. XCon presenters include Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, Margie Kay and Preston Dennett, Lisa Martin and Wayne Lawrence, Lee Spiegel, Debbie Zagelmeyer, Dan Terry, Kate Grabowski, and Ray Hernandez. There will also be a live paranormal investigation by the Riverside, Iowa Paranormal team. So come hang out with us in the safety of home as we set out to explain the unexplained Friday, May 13th and Saturday the 14th, 2022. And tickets are on sale now. Go to unxnetwork.com. That's unxnetwork.com.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church. Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers. We're also Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dave Scott is with us. Three first-time guests this week. Tonight, Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio. Tomorrow night, Tom Dongo. And Wednesday night, Jazz Shaw is with us. And we've got a busy night tonight in front of us, Dave. And I have no idea when I'm going to have dinner now at this point. I guess it'll be about 2 o'clock in the morning. I want to get back to Pascal. That's a pretty fascinating story. And when somebody says, how deep down the rabbit hole do you want to go? And you're like, let's do this. What happened next? How far down the rabbit hole did you go?
Well, for about 1.5 years, man, I worked with him at least once every 2 weeks, and we'd go for these drives. And dude, we'd go in the middle of the night, like start at like 11 o'clock, and we wouldn't end them until like 2, 3 in the morning. And I still had to work the next day and, could try and live a life. But everything that I wanted to see, man, started coming out. I started off with just paranormal stuff where we worked on, because of the angel of death with my eyes or with my mom in the channeling, we started working on the channeling aspect of everything. And we ended up meeting, a number of nice people regarding that. And then, we'd go for these drives and you'd see shadows standing in the middle of the road, and all of a sudden they would dash off. And I'd be like, did you see that? And he'd be like, see what? Well, there was a shadow going on. He'd be like, good. You're opening up to what we need you to see and be there. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, man, it was 2013. And he starts saying, Dave, we need to start talking about ETs. And I'm like, no, man, no, not at all. Not going there. And I said, I saw Travis Walton's Fire in the Sky. I know what happens. I said, I'm good with the ghosts, man. I'll do anything with the ghosts. He goes, well, my guides keep telling me that it's time to open you up to ETs. And I'm like, no, not going there. And I fought it. And he'd be like, well, what if you don't have a choice? And I'm like, well, what's all this free will crap you've been telling me about? Where's my free will? I don't want any aliens. He goes, well, you may not have a choice. So, okay, fine. 2014 hits about, we're right around that timeline, right tonight. And I went to bed and I had this dream. I'm going to call it a dream because I don't know what else it was, Jim. And all of a sudden in the middle of the night, man, I'm sleeping and I wake up and I'm in this bright white room, and I know there's walls and I know there's everything. And, this voice comes all around me, this male voice, and says, Dave, we do not want you to be investigating anymore. Stop watching television shows. Stop listening to radio programs. Stop watching documentaries. Stop looking up everything. I said, look, man, I'm just trying to figure out what is going on here. And they said, and it was weird. This is what screwed me up. It said, we give you permission to watch YouTube videos.
What?
Yeah. And I'm like, YouTube videos? I said, I'm just trying to figure out what the heck is going on with me here. And then this voice says, you'll be able to tell what is real and what is fake. I'm like, okay, what the hell does this mean now? Right? 3 weeks later, April 10th, 2014, I'm over at my friend's place, and they've got this 10-acre parcel of land on this private road. There's only them and their neighbors, which have the neighbors are in their late 60s, and they have this little trailer on this 6.5 acre piece of land. And both pieces of land are horseshoed by forest way up in the mountains of Mission, British Columbia. And we would go over there, and we had some weird stuff happen there, Jim. Like, that's an entirely different 3-hour show of the crap that was happening there. It was like a mini ECETI ranch.
Gotcha.
And I'm driving there. My partner has our little guy who's about 8 months old at this time, and she just arrived there over for tea. I said, I'll meet you after work. I got off work at 8 o'clock, and I worked 40 minutes out of town. I race over there, and as I'm going there, I got this splitting migraine. And I pull into the driveway, and I walk in, and the lights are on, and I'm just like, oh, my head is killing me. So my partner says, do you want to go? Do you want to leave if you got this migraine? I'm like, no, you just got here. Maybe it'll subside. Just let me sit on the couch, close my eyes. And this is where I realized, Jim, that it wasn't pain that I was feeling. It was shapes on my head coming through as pain. It started as a square in the front of my head, went to a triangle on the right side of my head, and then a circle. And then about half an hour later, we're hitting about 10 o'clock this time, everything disappeared. And I got hit with an anxiety attack that I needed to go into their back field, like immediately, like, let's go. I'm getting my shoes on. Let's go. And my partner says, can I come with you? And she goes, I said to her, no, you got to stay in here with the boy. And then the lady of the house, who was very intuitive, She says to her fiance, who's owned this property for like 41 years at this point, they don't own it anymore. But she says, Dave is getting something. We need to go outside. I looked at her and I said, he's not invited. Why the hell would I tell him that he's not invited into his back field?
Mm-hmm.
So her and I being connected, we go outside the front door, we walk to the back, and, you know, in British Columbia being a natural rainforest up in this area, we get a lot of misty, rainy nights where that mist just kind of hits you and sinks into your clothes and everything. And the cloud level was maybe 100 feet high, 200 feet high, like real low on top of the mountain. And we walked to the back of the house where they got this old 2x10 horse fence that they used to raise horses on the farm. And we're standing there and we're like, something feels off here. Something feels completely off. She goes, well, they called you outside. Talk to them. I said, well, what the hell am I supposed to say? And she goes, I don't know. First thing that comes to your mind. So I said, okay, I'm a God guy. So I said, you know, out of peace, love, and light of God, you called me outside. Can you please show us where you are? And within 2 seconds, Jim, the back field of the neighbor's property lit up like a Christmas tree.
What?
Yeah. So we're about 150 yards away from this, man. And the backyard lit up like a Christmas tree right by the forest. And there was this bright white light, the brightest white light I've ever seen, streaming through the trees. And there was a line of trees about 60, 70 feet tall in between both properties on the fence line. And this light is moving all the way through. And after about 30 seconds, the light goes off. So I'm trying to be skeptical here. I'm thinking, okay, in this light, am I seeing people move? Do I hear people laughing? You know, is it one of those 100,000 candle watt flashlights that you can get at the hardware store? What could it be? So then she says, holy cow, do it again. So I said, if you are of alien descent, out of God's peace, love, and light, can you turn your lights back on? Bang.
What?
Lights back on again. Now, I'm talking to this thing in the same volume that I am talking to you and your audience. Okay? There is no way 150 yards away that whoever is standing there can hear me. Okay? But the lights come back on and they're wider through the trees and they're brighter. And this is where all of a sudden I see something blue. And there is this, I move to my right about 15, 20 feet to try and get a path through this because I see this blue thing. And there is this blue cylinder standing vertically on the ground about 20, 30 feet high. Because remember, the trees in between are about 60, 70 feet. And at the bottom of this blue cylinder, there is this black cloud that is rotating counterclockwise, and it would make its way halfway up this cylinder and halfway down. And all of the white light is still there, and it is emanating from the bottom of this cylinder. I don't know what else to call it. And I'm like, can you believe this crap going on right now? And my friend's like, let's go over to it. I'm like, no way. We are not going over there. She's like, well, I'm going. I'm like, I'm not going back into your house alone. I'm suspect number one. You know?
Right.
You are staying right here with me. We don't know what this is. I saw a fire in the sky, and we're not doing this. All right? So she stayed with me. 30 seconds later, the lights go off. She goes, so now we have this argument, and she goes, okay, fine. See if they'll come on one more time. So I said, just so I know I'm not crazy, out of God's peace, love, and light, can you turn your lights on one final time? Bang, the lights come back on again. And I'm just stunned here, absolutely stunned. And I'm staring at this. I could see the blue cylinder. And then after about 30 seconds, man, it starts turning its lights off and on like a light switch. It did this 10 times. Now, what I can figure from this, and I could be wrong, but I used to go outside. My partner and I would go outside, sit on our patio, put the lounge chairs out. We'd count satellites. And, everybody would think you get those iridium satellites that blow up the bright white light and then they're gone. I have a feeling, and it's just me, that these lights, when they were turning them on and off, were literally saying, hey, remember when you're looking up in the sky and you see those lights all of a sudden flare up and then disappear? And I think that's what the message was. So I don't sleep for 5 days, Jim. And this is where it gets really weird.
Oh, it gets weirder. Okay, continue.
5 days later, it's a Wednesday, April 15th. At about 1:30 in the afternoon, I haven't really slept in 5 days. I got the day off work, and we got invited over to meet this young lady named Samantha Mowat. And Samantha claims to be a lifelong ET contactee. And so we pull in and we do the greetings, and it's just my partner, Samantha, and the lady of the house, and my little guy who's still in a car seat. And I'm kind of pacing around. I don't even want to be there. I want to be outside. This is my first time back at the farm since this happened. And Samantha all of a sudden looks at me. She goes, you want to go outside, don't you? I said, yeah, we had some things happen here the other day. So we kind of explained. She goes, well, do you mind if I go out with you? I said, sure. It's 2:00 in the afternoon. All of the kids are still at school. And her and I walk into the back field. It's a nice, beautiful spring day, and there's not a cloud in the sky. And I was showing her in daylight where this cylinder was and everything, where the energy was. And she starts picking this up. And we got 4 dogs running around. There was 2 dogs on the farm. My 2 dogs I would bring there to run around. 10 acres. Why not? Let them get some exercise. And all of a sudden, Samantha gets close to me, and she's like, hey, Dave, do you want to go in the back forest? And I'm like, sure. And she goes, we're probably going to see something, right? And I knew right there, Jim. I knew. And I'm like, what the hell? After what happened the other night, let's just do it.
Well, it's daylight. What's the worst that can happen?
Absolutely. So then Samantha says something weird. She goes, but I don't know if there will be anything there, because from what I know, aliens don't like dogs. So we tried to shoo the dogs back to the house. They kept on following us. So, well, let's try it. The dogs take off back towards the fence line in between the tree lines, and they run into the forest. We get to the gates. We see the dogs running around. Okay, nothing. Her and I are having small talk. We get about 50 feet into the forest, or about 50 yards into the forest, and Samantha stops, and she's got this perplexed look on her face, and she's looking around, and I'm like, what's the matter? And she goes, Dave, where are the dogs? All 4 dogs were gone. Disappeared. Don't know where they went. All right. So we're like, stupid people. Well, let's keep going. 4 dogs just disappeared. Let's just keep going. So we walk another 50 yards in, Jim, and Samantha's very pixie-like. She's very petite, very tiny, and she hops up on this tree stump, and she looks north, and she kind of looks at me. She looks north again, and she goes, Dave, I want you to look at me. So I look at her, and I'm 1.5 feet away from her. She goes, I don't want you to be afraid, but I want you to look that way. And she points north, and I want you to tell me what you see. So I'm scared now, Jim. I'm actually starting to shake, and I take a deep breath. I turn, I look north, and I said, Samantha, what is that? Samantha, what the hell is that? And that's all I could say for about 3 minutes, because at 2:00 in the afternoon, just her and I in the forest, no dogs around, 200 feet right in front of us, there is a 10 to 12 foot extraterrestrial standing there staring back at us.
Continue. When you say, describe what you are looking at.
It is a very light tan color, like if you put too much cream in coffee.
Okay.
I did not see the arms. I did not see the legs. Saw the body, which was very thin, like almost like telephone pole type thin. It had a giant bulbous head on it. Looking at it now in my mind, I don't recall seeing eyes. I'm staring at this thing. And as the sun is shining through the trees, it's starting to get darker. Not the daytime, but the tan color starts turning almost like to the brown of a quarter horse or a giraffe, something of that darkness. So in the meantime, Samantha is being my rock at this time. And she starts picking up communication from a second being that is there that I did not see at that time. And this being, now remember, I'm all about Travis Walton Fire in the Sky of the movie at that time. And this being says to Samantha, you are more than welcome to come over and say hello. We're not here to harm you. We're not here to take you. However, we are very worried about the man's health. Now, it's only Samantha and I. She's definitely female.
Right.
They're obviously talking about me.
The man is you. Correct.
And Samantha says to me, do you want to go over there? And I am like, no, please do not leave me here.
Hey, Dave, let me jump in if I could. Were they moving at all?
I never saw the second one. Okay. I never saw the second one. It may have been, but the first one was not moving. It was completely stationary. It was like they knew, Jimmy, that I was frozen. And let me explain. I wasn't frozen out of seeing them. I was frozen out of fear, Jim, that everything that I believed up until my first 40 years in life was now garbage. You know, I grew up in a household where, you know, we weren't religious, but we had a strong belief in God, that there's a God, there's a devil, there's a heaven, there's a hell. If you're good, you go up. If you're bad, you go down. But, you know, nobody ever, you know, whether it's my parents, my grandparents, cousins, friends, coaches, whatever, nobody ever tells you what to do, Jim, and how to react when you're standing at 40 years old staring at an extraterrestrial at 2:00 in the afternoon in a forest. Nobody prepares you for that.
Right.
And Samantha says, well, I'm going. And she starts walking down the path towards them. And I literally yelled at her. I'm like, please stop. Do not leave me. And I said, I am not going back to the house alone if they take you. Because once again, suspect number one, right?
Well, you look like a suspect too. See, that's the other thing.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And you know, I mean, great hair like you and I have. I mean, we're easily put as suspects. So the idea behind that was Samantha actually heard the fear in my voice at that point, and she decided to stay with me. And we stood there for about 10, 15 minutes, just small talk, talking about what we were looking at. And once again, I never saw the second being. I was just fixated on this one. And then all of a sudden, we started getting like this feeling that there were more of them if we moved over to a different part of the forest. So we left that area, went to the other part of the forest where we felt there was going to be more. There was nothing there. We stood there for about 10 minutes. There was nothing there. And then we went back to the original place to where we saw them, and they were gone. We then figured, well, I guess the show is over. And I'm like, I cannot believe this. You know, cannot believe this. My mind is blown. We start walking towards the fence line, going into our friend's yard again. And all 4 dogs come out and join us to say hello. Yeah.
I remember many years ago, I watched a bunch of Samantha's videos, and very smart, very compelling. Did you continue hanging out with Samantha after that?
Oh, yeah. Samantha still to this day plays a major part in what we do on Spaced Out Radio.
Right.
She's a monthly guest with our host, weekend host Lyd Wallington. They do an incredible job. Samantha is somebody you need to get on your show. She'll blow your mind. Blow your mind.
The time between this and the start of Spaced Out Radio, you also meet Johnny Enoch.
Yeah.
And now that right there is a conspiracy in of itself. Yeah. How much of a roller coaster ride was this during this period, going up and leading to the start of Spaced Out Radio?
Well, Johnny happened to know Samantha and asked Samantha to speak at this UFO event that he was having in Vancouver. And I said, hey, I'm a former radio guy. Maybe I can help. So I called up Johnny and I said on Facebook, I messaged him. I say, hey, I know you don't know me. My name is Dave. I'm a friend of Samantha Mowat's. I don't know if you need an MC or somebody like that. I have a radio and background. And within an hour, he messaged me and he's like, I just was manifesting somebody with a radio voice to come on in and MC our event, and you got a hold of me. And he goes, can we talk later? So, there's no 10-minute conversation with Johnny.
Nope.
It's at least an hour to 4 hours. And that's how we started chatting, and I ended up MCing his event. And, on October 2nd, I had a friend of mine give me a front row center ticket to Slash with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. And that was the only night that I could meet up with Johnny. And I turned down the ticket to meet with Johnny. And 6 weeks later, on November 30th, 2014, we launched Spaced Out Radio.
Miles Kennedy, Johnny Enoch. I'm kind of weighing that. It's kind of even. That's a coin toss. That's God's honest truth, man. That's how it happened. Now I've got 30 seconds before the break. I just want to ask you one thing. Bumblefoot. How did that happen? The short version.
Short version. I met him in Vancouver and partied with him in his tour bus after a show in Vancouver after the last GNR residency in Vegas. And I tweeted him one day and said, hey, can I DM you? And he goes, sure. I DM'd him and I said, I love your music. I want to use Little Brother or Pink Floyd or the Pink Panther theme. He goes, you can't. It's a Warner Brothers song. He goes, but I love your topics. Love what you do. Let's work out a deal where you can use Little Brother is Watching. And that's how we got Bumblefoot involved.
There's a lot of great players out there in the world, and he is one guy. You and I have talked about this already, but he is one guy that actually freaks me out. He's too good, and I might suggest he might be an extraterrestrial. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Dave Scott. Now, listen, everybody, we're going to have Dave on after the break, and then we are going to somehow get our simulcast going. You're going to be a part of all of that, and we'll be right back. This is Fade to Black. I'm yours, Jimmy Church. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
This is Jimmy Church. Jason Martell's book, Knowledge Apocalypse 10-Year Anniversary Edition, is now available. Most ancient cultures speak of a time when their gods visited them. They never say their gods came from across the ocean or from the mountains. They always came down from the skies. Was ancient man visited by gods or extraterrestrials? We have not been told the full truth about our human past. There was a time when all the ancient cultures lived amongst beings they considered their gods. The search for truth leads us down the path of learning where the ETs might come from and why they are here. To understand some of these advanced topics and learn the truth about human origins, buy the new book from Jason Martell, Knowledge Apocalypse. Now in its 10-year anniversary edition, available on Amazon.com by clicking on the banners over on our site, or simply visit jasonmartell.com. That's jasonmartell.com. Do you want to be an official Fade or Not? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fade or Nots. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. What a great week. Three first-time guests this week. Tonight, Dave Scott of Spaced Out Radio is with us. Might be Canada's finest export to the United States since Wayne Gretzky. Tomorrow night, we have on Tom Dongo. And then Wednesday night, Jazz Shaw is with us. And Dave, okay, now, here is the important question.
Right.
Now, in your mind, are ETs real?
Yes.
You know, going back to this period.
Yes. In my mind, I actually, do you remember the blue cylinder I was talking about?
Yes.
In one of my first conversations, private conversations with Lou Elizondo, I actually told him that story. And Lou actually said to me, without batting an eye, he goes, "Did it change color?" And I said, "No, it stayed to blue." And he goes, "I'm going to assume that it looked like a police colored blue, like a police light blue, but a little bit darker." And I said, "Yes, that's exactly it." He goes, "I've seen that."
Say what?
Yeah. He goes, "I know what you're talking about."
Now, did you, in your skeptic situation, did you go out into the woods where this blue cylinder was to see if somebody was messing with you? You know, electric cables on the ground, whatever, footprints.
The next day we did.
Right.
went and looked around. There was nothing by their barn. There was no like markings on the ground. I mean, we could only get so close because we didn't want to go into their property. And there was a big bunch of blackberry bushes that kind of surrounded the trees that separated the property. But we went and had a look, and there was nothing there. There was no marking on the ground, like a burn mark or anything like that. Samantha, like I said, it was picking up on the energy. Pardon me, it was 5 days later because Samantha was there with, and that's kind of what happened. And you know, we did come out and measure where the aliens were standing, and we looked at the log, and my other buddy who owned the property, he stood where the tall 10 to 12 footer was standing, and he was a 6 foot man, and he was barely making a size dent on where this creature was standing. And yeah, I'm pretty convinced, man. I'm pretty convinced that extraterrestrials are real and they are here. What do they want? I don't know. You know, I mean, why me? That's probably the number one question that every experiencer has. And it just seems to continue on. And, you know, we never seem to get close to the answers. And every time we get close to an answer, another door opens up that leads us down another path. You know, Grant Cameron is famous for that, that he follows a path, another door opens right in front of him. And that's kind of what has happened, you know, and I don't expect people to believe me. You know, I mean, this community is very fickle. And frankly, I used to get upset when people didn't believe my story. But now I'm to the point where I don't really care. You know, this is what's happened to me. This is what brought me into this community. I mean, there's not a lot of people making money off of this, Jim. And we're doing it out of a love and information and broadcast. And I'll tell you, my life, my happily boring life before all of this happened was much easier than what I'm doing now. And I work 16 hours a day. I still have a daytime job. I moonlight doing this to try and, you know, do what I need to do to get my message out, or my listeners or my guest messages out. But the fact that, you know, there might be people criticizing, say, oh, this guy's full of crap. It used to bother me. Now it doesn't.
Well, you know, now as a radio host, you're now the same crazy person that you interview on the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I'm full of woo. You know, I love the weirder the stories, the better. You know, I mean, you take them with a grain of salt, every single one of them, because you have to. And I think what a lot of people forget is those who are experiencing the phenomena, they tend to forget that everybody usually has a very skeptical mind with what they are going through. They don't want to believe this happened to them. They don't want to believe that they woke up one morning and all of a sudden they're seeing dead people or having psychic premonitions come to fruition. Nobody wants that. They're trying to figure it out on their own. That's why they listen to shows like yours and mine and Dave Schrader's and other people's, because they're just looking for answers. And I think this community has forgotten that. And I wish it would go back to remembering that not everybody who has an experience is out there for 15 minutes of fame. They want to know what's happening to them, because this has been a life-altering experience that they cannot figure out on their own.
I wanted to ask you, as a host, because I know that I've done this many times. You take your experience and you're interviewing a guest, and you have to have an open mind now because of your own experience, and you're listening to somebody else's experience. They hold the same weight, or pretty much do. Have you heard similar aspects in your own experience with people that you've interviewed with theirs, where you've just stepped back and went, aha, I never shared that with anybody?
Yeah, it has happened. It's happened a couple of times. Now, probably the closest moment, here's a fun story for you. I don't know if you've ever interviewed a gentleman. Oh, what's his name now? Oh, his name just blanked on me. We were talking about Buddha of all topics. Harvey Kraft.
I have not.
Okay. Well, I'm doing this show on Buddha, and Harvey Kraft is my guest. And my old Blog Talk radio studio, man, that I had was so cheap, and Johnny knows we converted my daughter's bedroom, which was right beside my front door, and it had a bay window looking, I had a rancher style house, so it looked into my driveway. And for some reason, it was the third night in a row that I had not put my outside lights on. And I always am a guy who puts my outside lights on. And so I'm about 10, 15 minutes into interviewing Harvey. And I'm literally about 4 to 7 feet, no, maybe 4 feet from my window. And all of a sudden I see something move in front of my window on the other side. And I'm like, oh, crap. At that point, I wasn't very open to announcing to my friends and family that I had this radio show. I was a little embarrassed about it at first. I was. And we always had one of those houses where it didn't matter if it was 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. My friends always knew that the coffee was on or the beer was cold. And I'm thinking, oh, crap, somebody's going to come to the front door. My dogs are going to start barking. I got a Chihuahua dachshund that is, one of these dogs where a crosswind is worth 25 minutes of barking nonstop. And after a couple of minutes, I realized the dogs aren't barking and there's been no knock at the door. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I asked Harvey a question, how we got into this. I put my microphone on mute. I swivel my chair over to the window. God is my witness. I swear on my children's lives, man. There is a giant gray alien head staring back at me from outside the window.
No. Continue.
Yeah. So I did what any man would do. I screamed like a banshee, and I fell back in my chair, and I jumped back up because I'm like, no, get up and look at this thing. And it was gone. It was gone. And to this day, people who listen to my show, they'll know that I nicknamed this guy Carl. I don't know why. Nicknamed him Carl. And Jimmy, if it was a human being, I would have seen, it was so fast, I would have seen somebody running from my property. All right. I would have seen him. And whatever this was, this alien gray with giant bulbous head, the big black almond eyes that was standing right in my window was gone.
Now, okay. Now, here we are in 2022, Dave, where you and I have been covering this for a long time and so forth. But here we are where, I mean, this is the obvious question, but it's not just you and I anymore, talking about the subject. It's the media. It's Tucker Carlson. It's the Senate. It's the Department of Defense. It's pilots coming forward, where this subject now is standing right out in front. Did you expect this to happen? And certainly as quickly as it did?
Well, I was one of the people right off the bat who, if we go back 4 years previous to the Stars Academy coming out, there were a lot of red flags for me right off the bat, journalistic red flags that I saw. Number one, growing up in British Columbia, having a pressless press conference in Seattle, I would have driven down for that. I would have totally driven down for that. And, so I had a real skeptical view of what the TTSA was going to do, and the fact that they didn't include anybody that we recognize from the field of ufology. And, when the split happened, I remember I wrote a blog on that ended up in the hands of Jim Semivan, who through Melinda Leslie basically said, and I had never interviewed anybody at that point from TTSA, and Jim had told Melinda to tell me that I got it about 90% right as to why TTSA collapsed. And that's just reading between the lines, because Jim, as a journalist and a media guy, the real story between anything is between the lines. You got to be able to read in between, because that's where the real story is. And so when all of this started happening, with the U.S. government and Elizondo and Mellon and Justice split, I started taking it a little bit more seriously again. And just, I'm the type of guy where I like to sit in the backwoods and just kind of watch and see how things pan out. I wasn't surprised that they were able to get the amount of support that they did in DC for this. I was surprised at the continuation of the threat narrative, that everything is a threat. And then one day I was having a conversation with Sean Cahill, and him and I were talking, and he goes, Dave, how do we get money in politics? He goes, in the United States, I said, I don't know, man, I'm Canadian. And he goes, well, in the U.S., if we want to get a budget, we have to promote a threat narrative because we don't know where these are coming from. We don't know which timeline, which part in space, which are they from the future? Are they from inner Earth? We don't know where they're from. And until we can figure out where they're from and what their message is, we have to consider it a threat, which is why we're able to get that budget. And I was like, okay, that makes sense to me. So I understand where they're coming from. Now with Tucker Carlson, I never liked it. I never liked the fact that they were interviewing the same few people. I think the TTSA created a narrative there that was impossible for the UFO field and people like you and me to get any sort of message through, because it was the same people they were interviewing every time. You didn't see Dolan on there. You didn't see somebody like Linda Moulton Howe or Grant Cameron or even the late Stanton Friedman while he was still alive. You know, we didn't see any of these people. All we saw was Elizondo, Mellon, Tom DeLonge, David Fravor, Nick Pope, and his brilliant Brillo pad hair that he has. I mean, you know, I'm just going to bite my tongue there, you know, a little bit, but that's all we saw. That's all we saw. And the disappointing fact for me, and I've never interviewed Nick Pope, and I would ask him this point blank, you know, because I think in journalistic integrity, sometimes we have to ask a tough question every now and again. And I would like to ask Nick point blank, like, when are you not going to repeat something that either Lou or Chris Mellon has said? When are you going to give us something original? We know you're the guy. You've let us know for the last 20 years you were the guy at the MOD. When are you going to give us something? I want some juice, man. I'm thirsty. Give me some juice. And it just never seems to happen. And that's not a critique on him. That's just what I see. And I think that for a lot of these people, whether it's Elizondo, who I have high respect and regard for, whether it's Chris Mellon, or that I've never interviewed, or whether it's Sean Cahill, who I think we've developed a friendship, they know that there are questions that need to be asked, and we're going to ask very, very, breadcrumb type questions because that's all we've been fed. Where in the meantime, you know, like I was saying to Sean the other night when we talked, it's like ufology is in first gear going into second, whereas Elizondo and Cahill and that crew are shifting from fifth gear to sixth. So I said, what can you expect from the public when for 70 years, we've been stuck in first gear? Mm-hmm. You know, so I think there's a miscommunication about everything that's going on. And the softballs that people like Tucker Carlson or Anderson Cooper were throwing at Elizondo and them, well, how come they never asked about Roswell? How come they never asked about Phoenix or Kecksburg or Area 51 or Lazar or anything? The reason why is they don't know them. They don't want to know them. As far as the mainstream media is concerned, this is a subject that really started in 2004 with the Nimitz, and we've been given nothing else.
Very interesting take on that. Here we're at the point now where I know that we've got to start to gear up for the simulcast. So why don't we, at this point, let's go ahead and take a little time out. Dave's got to get stuff set up on his end, Everybody's going to be watching me. I've got to turn around and get things set up here. I'm just going to continue to talk to my audience, Dave, as you get ramped up on your end, and then we'll circle back at the top of the hour, and we will join up and get the simulcast going. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready for it. Let's see what we can do.
Let's make this happen. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to remove Dave. Dave, you are now muted, and I'll see you on the back end. We've got a few things software-wise that we've got to get started here, and I'm going to do that. This is fun. And very interesting takes going on with Dave Scott. But what was very interesting, as I am, by the way, I'm clicking through and getting some other software started. And in a few minutes, we will be hopefully set up and going back and forth. Let me move this over to here. Okay. And yeah, Dave, just give me the thumbs up. Okay, so we are good there. And you know what? Hey, hold on, Dave. I'm going to bring you back. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we've got a little echo going. We will save that. Let me see. Hold on a minute. Why would we have? Are you there? Okay. Oh, hold on a minute. This is my fault. Okay. Let me back this out. Let me pull this up. This up. Okay. So we have an echo happening here.
I think what has to happen is I got to disconnect from Skype.
Oh, yeah. Disconnect. Oh, I thought I did. Oh, okay. Hold on. Okay. So now, are we good?
And if I bring you up here,
yes,
I should be able to hear you.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we are good. Oh, okay. So actually,
we can continue.
Yeah, we're still live. And see, I love this. If this doesn't prove to everybody what live radio is, and look how professional you are. I mean, that's just pro, man. That's just pro.
You know, I don't have as many beautiful guitars as you do, you know, but I am jealous of that. This is, before we head to the break, let me say this. These things in back of me are not props. And I went through a life of music and learning how to play guitar and Hollywood and the Sunset Strip and bands. And that was my life. And this is what makes me happy. You know, they're not props. I do play. I've got a workbench over there that I'm working on guitars all the time. I've got just sitting right here. I've got files and things, and I'm working and always doing stuff. And it's because it's what I love. And just like you, Dave, when I started Fade to Black, and I know that we've got to run because Dave's got to start his show and I've got to get to a commercial break. I wanted to talk about just what makes me happy, which is UFOs, conspiracy, the supernatural, the paranormal, time travel, lost history, Egypt, and friggin' guitars, right? and if I could just talk about all of that in one show, I'm happy, right? And hopefully my audience will be just like me, that they're interested in the same things. And for some reason, it's worked over the years. And you know what? You're one of the very few people who gets to do what he loves. So many of us out there in your audience and my audience, you know, they're just trying to make it every day. And we're the escape for them. And, we give them that time to breathe, to turn their minds off from the real world for a little bit. And I think at times, many of us, whether you're a podcast of 25 listeners or you're a giant show like yours, Jim, I think we forget at times the importance of the job we need to do in order to entertain the audience and give them that break. Life is hard right now. It's financially hard. You got a war going on. There's still great debates over COVID, and Lord knows that I haven't been to a concert in a number of years because of this, and we all need a break. And I think we forget how lucky we are at times to have an audience base like we do in order to really push forward something that we have fun doing and, at times get paid to do. And it really is a blessing, man. It really is a blessing what we do.
I always say to everybody, you have something, I don't know what it is, but you've got your own secret. Whatever that secret is, that dream, that thing, whatever that is that you don't share, go and do it. Whatever that little thing, because that's what's going to make you happy. And you don't want to live a life, we keep hearing it over and over again, right? The old guy, the old lady at the retirement home, with that story. I could have, I should have, but I didn't. You don't want to be that person. You just don't want to be that person. Go and chase your dream. Whatever it is, succeed, fail miserably. It doesn't matter. You're going to be happy doing it. And that's the secret to life.
You got that right. And that's what we tell our audience too. Just enjoy it. Like, have you noticed, Jim, how mad over the last year that certain people just seem to get when it comes to these topics because of proof and because of everything? Let's just enjoy it, man. I mean, I don't know how to put it, but we need to enjoy the stories. If we didn't have the stories, none of us would have been lured to these topics. And we can thank the late great Art Bell for that. Yes, I mean, that was the grand master of woo. And I understand people want proof. I understand people want answers. They're tired of anecdotal evidence. They're tired of fake videos, and they're tired of CGI. I get that, and I can appreciate that. But you know what? When you get a heartfelt story that someone can totally explain to you how it's affected their daily lives, there's nothing better. It's beautiful radio.
It is. And I always equate it to, we've only got a few minutes left. We all of us had that crazy ass uncle who BS'd everybody, but we loved his stories. And you just wanted him to get to the end of the story without losing you. You wanted to believe it to the end, right? And just go, man, that was great. That was great. Well, you know what? That's where I'm at with this. And our audience, because this is theater of the mind. And we all enjoy that. I do too. And when I tell a story, an experience that I've had, I want to tell it to the end. I don't want everybody to go, church ran out of gas. I don't want to run out of gas. I want the story to get to the end. And I enjoy it just as much as everybody else does.
And you know what? That's perfect. That's what we all need to do. Just enjoy it a little bit more.
Dave, you are the very best. Now, I'm going to roll into my commercial. And so when I return, hopefully Dave and I are synced up. We are simulcasting, and then we're going to do a simulcast with Spaced Out Radio and Fade to Black. So let's take our break right here, Dave. Get things set up, and I'll see you on the back end.
All right. Hello, Nicole Sakich.
What is going on?
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse. KUNX-DB. The X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes non-fiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit unitedgoldgroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Now we enter the simulcast phase of tonight's broadcast. I've got Nicole Sakic in front of me and Dave Scott over at Spaced Out Radio. And let's see how synced up we are.
Away from launching the radio side of things, and that's where we're going to kick it off, and we'll bring Jimmy in at about that time. But thank you to everybody about trying to come in. Sorry, I'm just signaling Jimmy, telling him we got about 2 minutes to go here before we are going to launch everything.
This is great.
Thanks to all the space travelers that said hello to me in the Fate or Not chat room. That was wild. Like, you know.
Oh, you're loved. You are
all
loved.
The support was there. No, the SOR love. I think the Fate or Nots are showing up, and the space traveler, the Woo train's filling up. Here we go.
Well, and we thank everyone for coming on in here and hanging on out with all of us here as we are about a minute to go here until showtime. And we are going to rock this thing, man. We are totally going to rock this thing here in just a moment here as Jimmy is going to come on in and join us for a simulcast both on UNX and across our little mini radio network. Thank you so much to Ed Clater, Horror Realm, Big Dog, and Eddie for the.
This is great. And so just to give everybody a quick update as to what is going on, we're starting a simulcast in about 30 seconds. And this is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, we just did 90 minutes with Dave Scott over at Spaced Out Radio. And we decided to do something unique tonight for the first time, which is bring in all of us together and do a simulcast too at the same time. And then after that tonight, I'm going to go over and join them after Fade to Black ends. And I think we're getting pretty close to starting here. And Gary Voorhees is in the chat room tonight. Look at this. Okay. All right. And this is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the UNX and Game Changer networks. And let's see how close we are now. Here we go. Let's see.
Do me a favor, everyone. Horns up. Let's rock.
Here we go.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do Old Navy the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a simulcast going on tonight. At first, I didn't think it was going to be a simulcast. I was on with Fade to Black's Jimmy Church right before this show. And then all of a sudden we figured out the technology. So I had booked Nikki Sakic, a.k.a. Nicole Sakic, our favorite cook around here, to come on in for the first hour. Jimmy was going to join us for the second hour, but we've been able to figure out all of the technology. So we just said, hell with it. We're going to continue this radio show and simulcast it on everywhere we want to go. So I got Jimmy Church here from Fade to Black, the man whose hair is like, honestly, it's Herculean. It's a Herculean hairdo, which is absolutely beautiful. And, you know, we like a good hair and beard combination around here. And, you know, Jimmy, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. We've kind of flipped chairs here. Now it's my turn to interview you. And Nicole's here because, well, originally we were only going to bring you in for the second hour, but I'm glad we're able to figure this out, man.
Nicole can talk.
I can.
Nicole can talk.
This.
Nicole, it's first off, it's an honor to be here, and pulling off a simulcast for our audience and yours is just this is a special treat for everybody out there. But let me back up for a second, Dave, and again, thank you. But Nicole and I. Nicole, was it a year ago? Has it been a year?
It was.
Yeah, Nicole.
A year and a week.
Nicole and I talked more in 7 or 8 days than most people should be legally allowed to on planet Earth, and we truly became friends and hung out. And one of the it was just an awesome week. But putting that aside, Nicole and I also had a special moment together with Clifford Mahooty. And and we got to hang out with Clifford, but we took one of the most spectacular pictures together. One that I hold very dear to my heart because of Nicole's legs. But aside from that, we got to hang out with Clifford and his glowing personality, and sometimes you just don't know what the future is going to bring. And certainly we didn't know that he would leave this earthly realm this year. But Nicole and I got to share some very special moments with Clifford last year too, as well. And so a quick toast to Clifford, Nicole, and that was just an awesome time together. So, okay, so now, who's the boss right now?
I'm the boss.
You're the boss.
Yeah. I want to ask you something, Jimmy, because you and I both come from a sports background. Okay. Out of all the interviews you did, out of all the takes that you got, what was the weirdest story as a sports reporter that you had?
I'm going to share this with you. We were live on the air, and my two producers, Charlie and Hilton, are in front of me. They're on the other side, and we're doing the show. We take a commercial break. And during the commercial break, this was on a Friday, some things you just can't make up. This is how it went down. We get a bunch of stuff sent to us from a Pennsylvania grand jury, and we're in the commercial break, and Charlie turns to me and he goes, "Hey, man, you know Sandusky, right?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Man, I think he's been indicted for sex crimes." I said, "What are you talking about?" And he hands me this stack of now, and so this was on a Friday, and I'm looking at all these official documents, and there's a general rule in journalism: you vet your sources 3 times. So I'm looking at this stuff, and I said, "Okay, guys, we're in a commercial break," and I said, "Get on the net. We got to see if this is real." And there's nothing out there. There's nothing. Now, what do? I'm holding, 40 pages of court documents with some insane things being said in them. Of course, we know what happened later. But now I'm left with a choice. Do I go live on the air with this? Or do we wait for somebody else to break the story first? And this happens in journalism all over the place. Who's going to be first? Who is going to, right? What do you do? And we broadcasted it. And I read some of the documents on the air. That was on Friday. And immediately the backlash started. We posted a video on YouTube and things, and I started getting email and crazy stuff. And we had to write out the weekend. There was nothing on ESPN. There's nothing on Fox. There's nothing on CNN. And I'm thinking, man, did we just blow it? Right? What's going on? And the weekend went crazy. And I can't tell you about the insane email that I was getting and the comments and stuff. that it was all BS, of course. Well, Monday morning happens, and then the story breaks. And I had to wait 3 days. Now, did I break the story? Well, yeah, I did. Yeah, you did. But at the time, I was a nobody. And what ended up happening, and we'll talk about conspiracies and UFOs and everything else. but let me say this: the stress that I went through, and to finally have CNN and ESPN and everybody else cover the Jerry Sandusky story was a big relief. Okay, it was. I was thrust into the world of Jerry Sandusky, pedophilia, this thing, and the court, and Joe Paterno has a heart attack and he dies, and I went through about a 2-month period, maybe 3 months, of covering this story every day. And I couldn't do it anymore. It took me into a dark world, and up through politics and things, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I came in one day, and I said to Charlie and Hilton, I said, I'm done. I can't cover this anymore. It's turned my world dark and taken me into a dark place. I want to get back to the crazy world of sports today, and we stopped covering it, and that's it. So out of everything, of all the stuff that when you asked me a question like that, it was that still to this day, and I don't like talking about it. People ask me about it all the time, and I just say, you know what, it happened. But no, I'm not going to discuss the case. I'm just not going to go there anymore.
I'll give you mine. NHL trade deadline 2006. I'm in the war room, and it comes down at about 8 minutes after the deadline that the Canucks have traded this 7th, 8th defenseman named Steve McCarthy to the Atlanta Thrashers. And Steve was my in the dressing room. And back when he played junior hockey, the kid, I used to be a hockey instructor before I got into radio. And the kid who was his defensive partner was a kid that I trained since 14 years old. And so I got to know Steve this way. And it comes down, and I walk outside. I'm like, hey, dude, what do you think of the news? And he goes, what news? I'm like, you don't know? And he's like, no, what, Dave? I said, dude, you've been traded.
You're out of here.
He's like, he goes, and you bleep with the F word. And he goes, to who? I said, Atlanta. He goes, for what? I said, future considerations. He's like, oh, no, my wife's going to kill me. We just moved all of our stuff here from Chicago, and now I'm going to Atlanta? I said, yeah, man, you're going to Atlanta. He goes, give me 2 hours, or give me a couple hours, call me back. I'll give you anything you want. And I was like, okay. It took him 4 hours before the Canucks finally got back to him to let him know that he had been traded.
Wow.
4 hours on deadline day.
You know what? There's more to the story.
No, that's the story. But I mean, just one of those things, man. It was just weird.
Let me tell you what ended up happening to me when I made the change from sports to woo, right? The sports as a sportscaster consumes you. It's box scores, it's stats, it's every player of every sport in every division, everywhere you're now, and the things that you do to prep for a show every single day. And it was consuming. And when I made the flip, I stopped watching all sports. I stopped reading. No more ESPN. No more nothing. I erased it from my life. And now when friends, and it continues to this day, and when my friends bring up sports, I have no idea, Dave. I have no idea.
I'm the same way. I had to quit my online hockey league because I didn't know who half the players were anymore. And I'm just like, this isn't like me. Like, I could tell you the first overall picks from 1978 to 2009 in the NHL draft, and now what the hell has become of me? This is horrible. I don't know if I like this person.
Yeah, when who were the relief pitchers for the Texas Rangers in 1995? I could go blip, 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 right? It's gone, man. I've defragged my hard drive. It's just all gone. But I can tell you all about Roswell.
Oh yeah, yes.
Oh, man.
When you get hit with the passion of the woo, it continues. And Nicole, hello, how are you?
Hi guys.
Nicole Sackett.
Do you guys want to hear my sports story?
You know what? It's all on the table tonight.
Well, I actually lean more towards you guys now these days. Like, I informed Dave the other night that I was actually a cheerleader for years and years, and actually went on scholarship to college for cheerleading. He didn't know things like that existed. So it sucked all my sports love out of me. I just can't do it anymore. And I tuned in just in time for the Cubs to come out of their, 100-year losing streak and win the World Series. And now I'm out again. I'm out.
That's all. It's kind of weird. I'm the same way in that the night before the Super Bowl, tell me who's playing. Okay, all right. I'm cool. World Series, Stanley Cup. Just tell me what's up the night before, and I'll dial myself in the next day. And then after it's over, who was in the Super Bowl this year? Oh, the Rams. Okay, so the Rams, the LA Rams won. Even that's gone, right? Even that's gone. It's just gone. It's the way it is. The world of woo, and especially now, is so not only consuming, but things are breaking like every single day, and it's not just a sighting. It's not just the latest video and things that are going on, because that's great too. But now it's the Senate and its budgets and it's the Department of Defense and you have to really, really stay on top of things. And the Gillibrand Amendment, 140 pages, right?
Oh wow!
Or the latest Jazz Shaw, article that's coming out, or Chris Mellon. This stuff takes up my time, just like the box scores did back when I was doing sports.
Mine as well. And Jimmy, Dave knows this about me. Every time you talk to me, I continue on conversations that may have happened like months and months ago, like the drop of nothing. And you just sparked something that reminded me what me, you, and Richard Dolan were talking about in Laughlin. And it was the current climate of the public and what they know about ufology. And we were talking about, with this media overload, how we're starting, like, everyday people, we're hearing them talk about it like water cooler conversation, not just like in, hey, did you see X-Files? That's crazy,
It's but Nicole, it's everywhere today.
I know. But this is what I want to know, if you've duly noted, over the last 2 months when I've been out in the world. Of course, I'm the UFO lady, but people are more specific with it now. They're like, I know that bill just passed. It was in the COVID amendment, and they're like sparking up like more intelligent conversation, not just, oh, well, I don't think you're weird that you believe in UFOs. It has turned, and I was wondering if you've noticed that. Dave, you as well.
Yes. Last night, my daughter Nicole, it's her birthday, 27 years old.
Oh, happy birthday!
Yeah,
happy birthday.
It was awesome. So we go out to dinner, and we're at a restaurant that my mother-in-law picked out. And so we go, and we have this dinner, and it's all good. Check this out. I'm not making up any of this. So there was a guitar player playing acoustic guitar, for the restaurant up on the stage in the background. And he was pretty good, actually. And so we give Nicole $20 to go and tip him. We're done with our dinner and things. So we're walking out, and this is on all that I love. This is what happens. So my daughter, her Aunt Wendy, and my mother-in-law, ex-mother-in-law, Evelyn, they're talking to this guitar player and telling him that he was great. And then I step up, and this is what happens. Are you Jimmy Church? And I went, stop with that. And he goes, man, I heard your voice from across the restaurant, and I couldn't believe it that you were in here. I said, wait a minute. No, you're setting me up. No. And my mother-in-law goes, he knows who, and I was like, and suddenly we're talking UFOs with the guitar player at the that is where it has gone today. Everybody is aware, and everybody wants answers. And I loved I walked out of the restaurant, did the selfies, the whole thing. Walked out smiling, thinking to myself, back to Nicole's point, that everybody is interested in this subject these days. And is it who's caused this? I think it's not Tucker Carlson. It's not Lou Elizondo. It's not Jimmy Church. It's not Dave Scott. It's not Nicole Sackage. No. It's always been there. It's always been there. Now there's a freedom of talking about it out in the open. But I think I think that the fascination with this has always been there. Everybody has wondered about this. This isn't some new thing that started in 2017 with the New York Times. No, absolutely not. And it makes me smile. It truly makes me smile.
Do you guys think we're getting better at expressing our ufology to the public? Do you think in this vast world that we live in, or, the rabbit holes, do you think we're getting better at honing our skills to make our voice heard? Because I've seen a refinement, I think, in the last 10 years in our field. And I can't help but think that has something to do with the current climate as well. Like, there's been an interesting point brought up lately in circles about mainstream media not picking up on ufology because they don't exactly know what the narrative is yet. So what Dave, let's start with you, and then we'll kick it back to Jimmy. But what do you guys think our narrative is driving this forward now?
Well, we got 2 minutes on mine, and I think, Jimmy, you got about a minute.
Dude, Dave, you just read my mind. Okay, we'll go with 2 minutes, okay? We'll go with nine. Right. We'll lock our studio clocks at 9:29. I'll say this, Nicole, if I walk up to somebody at a Starbucks and the server leans over to me and says, here's your white mocha frap. And by the way, Jimmy, what do you think? Interdimensional or nuts and bolts craft, right? if I get that, then the rest of the world is starting to listen. And I think we're getting close. I think we're getting close.
I think we are too. And I think, though, that the mainstream media has to, and it's going to be led by the United States media if they can get their crap together. But I really think that they need to open up the journalists, and a journalist outside of the New York Times has to take that chance put that maybe what they feel is their career on the line and really delve into the history of this. Look, any documentaries, Jimmy, you've been a part of a bunch of documentaries over the years, and we got a lot of friends who make them. They're just not doing it. We need a Ross Coulthart type of journalist in the United States, maybe a 60 Minutes type person, to come in and really break open the history, but not interview the same people over again. Let's get some mixture in there. That's what we need. And again, we're getting close to that. And back to, my little Jerry Sandusky story. Somebody's got to cross the line first, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody's waiting for that moment. And with that, I'm ready to take my break. Dave? Yeah, I'm good in about 15 seconds here. So, Jimmy, I'm going to send you out, and we'll bring Jimmy back in momentarily. Nicole Sackage, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black. It is UFOs Fading to Black here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. We are having a hell of a time. Do you see Nicole just take charge of my show there? Just, hey, Jimmy, Dave, shut up. I'm going to answer.
And with that, this is Fade to Black. We are doing a simulcast with Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back. More with Nicole and Dave after this short break. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church. Jason Martell's book, Knowledge Apocalypse 10-Year Anniversary Edition, is now available. Most ancient cultures speak of a time when their gods visited them. They never say their gods came from across the ocean or from the mountains. They always came down from the skies. Was ancient man visited by gods or extraterrestrials? We have not been told the full truth about our human past. There was a time when all the ancient cultures lived amongst beings they considered their gods. The search for truth leads us down the path of learning where the ETs might come from and why they are here. To understand some of these advanced topics and learn the truth about human origins, buy the new book from Jason Martell, Knowledge Apocalypse, now in its 10-year anniversary edition, available on Amazon.com by clicking on the banners over on our site, or simply visit JasonMartell.com. That's JasonMartell.com. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of forbiddenknowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to forbiddenknowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on forbiddenknowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Kristen, Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight we're doing a simulcast right now with Dave Scott over at Spaced Out Radio. He's got Nicole Sackich with him. And I don't know if they've brought me in yet. I am ready when you guys are. Oh, Dave says 1 minute. He's given me the 1 minute signal. And this is totally great. I want to remind everybody, this is First Time Guests Week here on Fade to Black. We have tonight, of course, Dave Scott, and then tomorrow night, Tom Dongo, live from Sedona, Arizona. We're going to be talking about the Bradshaw Ranch. And then Wednesday night, Jazz Shaw, the journalist, is going to be joining us also for the first time. And then Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Tonight, for you, the audience, this is pretty historical to go host to host. We had Dave Schrader on earlier tonight on Fade to Black, then Dave Scott, then a simulcast, and then after the show tonight, I'll be over at Spaced Out Radio after Fade to Black, and you can join us all over there. And also tonight, I think I'm back live
from Fade to Black, and we have Nicole Sackich, researcher, author extraordinaire, and we absolutely love her around here. And we're just going to wait for Jimmy to unmute himself so that way we can kind of simulcast with what we are doing and get into some UFO talk here on SOR and Fade to Black, as we'll be on Fade to Black as well for the next 20-some minutes till the top of the hour. Jimmy, thank you for joining us. This is fun, man.
Yeah, totally fun. And I got to unmute myself. This is pretty cool. Yeah, UFOs. And the question is, who is the host right now? I'm going to say Dave Scott is the host because I just need to take some time off. And but Dave, I'm going to throw this back at you when you have somebody like myself on the show and you've got to tee up, that question. What would that question be right now?
It would be, what kind of hair products do you use to keep your mane looking fine, sharp, and shiny?
Oh, man. I currently am using, I'm not making this up, okay? I'm just going to tell you straight up. Last year at the Conscious Life Expo, next to my booth was a company that had hair products. And they stocked me up. And so I'm not going to say the brand. That would be uncouth. Right. That wouldn't be right. But I love their products. And I've been using them now for the last year. And now this is a private moment. This is one of my private moments. So I'm grabbing the conditioner, right, this morning. I'm like, oh man, uh-oh. I've got to get a hold of them. I've got to get. I don't want to. And yeah. I'm in love with these hair products. So they're in a blue bottle. I'll go that far.
Wonderful. No, seriously though. I mean, I know our audience wants to hear us talk a lot about UFOs, but Jimmy, for you, like I said on your program earlier, the big question for me is why me? So why did all of these situations and these happenings happen to me? For you, as someone who is a broadcaster, wanted to do this and have reached the pinnacle, and now you've really, ingrained yourself within and built your own Fate or Not community. Why is this subject still important to you, not only on a humanities scale, but a journalistic scale as well?
Because, and that's a great question, and I'll say this, that a lot of, even though you touched upon a little bit of this earlier, a lot of the mainstream stuff that we get, which is good, I'm glad the conversation is happening, but it's still a load of BS. And I have always wanted to support the community and support the community first. And I know that when like your experiences, I've had my own too. And there is no way that somebody is going to convince me that some of the sightings that I've had are terrestrial or a secret government program, that it was something that is here from this earth. No. And I'm still waiting for somebody to come at me and want to know what we saw. When I say we, because generally speaking, I've seen things with a group of people. Now, and I'll say this. I've told this story many times, but it needs to be repeated. I had a mass sighting 7-8 years ago, and I'm with a couple of hundred people, and we see this thing, the now infamous, right, the green chrome balls, right? So I have this sighting, and that week I'm on coast to coast, and Friday, Saturday, maybe even Sunday, I'm on coast for 2 or 3 days. And Lisa, the executive producer of Coast, calls me up and says, okay, so what's going on? This is on the Sunday after the sighting. She goes, what are you doing on Friday? And I said, well, Friday's open lines. And she goes, yeah. I said, okay, but my guest is going to be me. And she says, what? And I said, listen, I just had this sighting the night before. And I tell her a little bit about it. She goes, stop right there. Go for it. And this was Dave on everything that I love. I thought that by going on coast and telling the world about this event was going to be mainstream. It doesn't get any more than mainstream than me hosting Coast on a Friday night. Right? That's a big audience, man. That's a big audience. And everybody is listening. And that includes, MSNBC and CNN and ABC, CBS, BBC, you name it, right? I'll even throw in the CBC. Okay? All right. Now, so I go on coast. I tell the whole story. And then I go to open lines. And what I expected was to hear from the mainstream media the next day going, okay, what happened? Let's talk about this. And crickets, nothing. Yeah. And I said to myself, I know my calling now. If I can't go and support the community in this fashion, because those 100 or 200 people that saw this craft that night, they need to be able to go and tell their friends and family about the experience and also say, you know what? And Jimmy Church was there. Jimmy Church went on Coast to Coast. Go and listen. He will back up everything that I am telling you. He was there. And that was the most important thing. This community needed a voice, Dave. And here's the other part. That night, I literally said to myself, what if Anderson Cooper was out here, right? What if Wolf Blitzer was out here? Would they in turn go on CNN, or would Tucker go on Fox if he was here the next day and tell the world about their experience? Well, you know what? The answer is no. They would not. And that's the problem. So I have chosen to do what I'm doing now because of all of that and my firsthand experience with this. And it made me angry. I was not cool with it, and I've never looked back. I don't care if I'm the green chrome balls guy, right? I don't care. Throw that label on me. But those 200 people that were with me, that night, they get that support. And I will always put the community first, and that's it. That's my bliss, and I'm okay with it.
And, I had a similar situation, not as many people. There were 4 of us standing in our patio, and we were all having some beers and had a little fire going in my fire pit. And we watched this orb at about 4,000 or 5,000 feet. And it was the size of a VW bug, this orb, comes slowly following the Fraser River in where I lived in Mission, British Columbia back then. And then it got over to where in our town where there's a drag strip. It got over the drag strip. It did a 90-degree turn south towards the U.S. border. And then it did a 180-degree turn and then dropped right where there would be a lake. Like it dropped right into the lake. I called up my former radio station, and my buddy John, who I'd worked 7 years with, he answers the phone. He's an editor at that time. And I'm like, hey, John, it's Dave. And he's like, hey, man, how you doing? I said, you got any strange reports of strange lights out in Mission? He goes, no, what happened? So I told him what happened. And it's like, how much have you had to drink, Dave? I said, John, I don't drink. He goes, well, what are you smoking then? And I'm like, come on, buddy. I said, you know me better than this. I'm not going to phone you up with a bunch of BS. I started to get pissed off. And I said, I'm not going to waste my time and phone you with this BS. All I'm asking is, have you heard of anything? And he goes, nope, haven't heard anything. Got to run here, bud. I'm like, okay, I got you now. The big thing that I've noticed, Jim, and maybe you have too, having that media background, there's all these people out there with this conspiracy theory that the mainstream media is controlled by what they're allowed to say and what they're not allowed to say. And the editors have to follow those rules. And I don't know what it's like in the U.S. I can only speak for Canada.
It's
here.
the same thing. It's the same thing. There's no difference.
Yeah. So, it's not like that. What people have to realize is journalists out there don't know how to cover this story. They don't want to cover this story because they still have the image that the Nicole Sackages, the Jimmy Churches, the Dave Scotts, and everybody in your audience and my audience is just a bunch of tinfoil hat, night shift gas station jockeys who have no dental plan and have never made more than minimum wage.
Right.
They're not worried about the Dolans or the Bob McGuires or the Gary Nolans or the Avi Loebs. They're not worried about that. They don't want to look into that.
That's right. Well, you described Nicole pretty accurately there. I'm not
true.
But let me say this. When I was in school and here in Los Angeles, going to school for broadcast and journalism, TV, radio, all that stuff, our teachers are all professionals in the industry. We're in Los Angeles, right? So everybody's here. And one of these instructors, cool dude, worked for CNN. And so whatever, we're talking about whatever. But I turned to him and I said, so what about, he was talking about news directors and how to present a story and, how to write, things up and we're working on articles and things. And I said, what if you had a story about UFOs? He just like looked at me and he said, well, what do you mean? I said, look, I'm talking about a sighting, a craft lands, things, and you've got video and you got photographs and things. And what do you do then with your news director? And he goes, nothing. I said, what do you mean? He goes, no, you're not going to take a story about UFOs to your news director. I said, well, why not? Because that's a career killer. I would never. No. UFOs are off limits. And I sat back. I swear, Dave. I was like, I know what I'm doing now. And if that's and he's absolutely right. It is the kiss of death. Traditionally in this world, only a few before where we are today were successful at it. And it's just a few. Of course, you have Art Bell and Coast to Coast. That's the first thing comes to mind. Before that, Long John Nebel out of New York. Tell me somebody else. Bring me another name. Right? Yeah. Now, there are millions of sportscasters out there. There's millions of political there's so many talking heads that are out there. But bring me, right? It doesn't exist. So I totally get that. And it's just the way that it is. And I knew then that that's what I wanted to do. When I started, I got fairly lucky out of the gate. Art Bell decided to quit and his radio show, and I was able to go in and keep his seat warm on his network for a year and a half. And while that was going down, I got the opportunity to go over to Coast. And for a little bit there, for a few months, I think I did both shows at the same time. And then Fade to Black continued, and I continued on over at Coast for almost 7 years. And I was given that opportunity. And I did not want to ever let my foot off of the gas. There were too many things, not only my own personal experiences, but there were too many things that were going on at the same time. And I just felt that things were going to break. There are too many experiences out there. And I'll say this is not that long-winded, but let me close with this. Millions of people have seen things. And it's not a case of mass psychosis. It's not. And whether it's abduction or contact or sightings in the sky or whatever, it's not a large chunk of this earth that is crazy. Because I have seen what I have seen, right? And that's it. That's the line in the sand right there for me. I know that I'm not crazy. And when I have a sighting with a bunch of people and we all see the same thing at the same time and we turn around, and like I said to you earlier, Dave, on Fade to Black, I am now the crazy dude. I'm the crazy person that is out there. And I'm okay with that. That's it. And that's where things are today. I know and I feel that we're in a tangible area where I can feel this UFO subject out in front of us, where it is real and things are about to break. It's about to take off. And I'm just glad that I'm here along with you and Nicole and everybody else in our community that we can enjoy this ride together.
But the question is, what is that? We're all ready for the ride, man. We're all ready for it. Okay. But what is the ride we are going to take? Nicole and I have talked numerous times, both on the phone and mostly on the phone, about what narrative are they giving us? Okay. What narrative are they trying to hide from us? And I have said numerous times, and Nicole and I have discussed this, there is this UFOs, Pandora's box, Jimmy, that is sitting somewhere deep inside the Pentagon that holds some unreal secrets. Mm-hmm. And until they open up that Pandora's box for UFOs, there is no story out there No matter how outlandish it is, there is no story out there that can be proven or disproven. Whether it's Eisenhower meeting with the aliens and trading humans for technology, to Bob Lazar and Area 51, to everything we are seeing today. Nothing is off the table. And as ufology, we need to reiterate and understand that we have to go back. We don't have a choice but to keep that pressure on with what is going on in the field. We can't let it go. There are no answers.
It's the onion is so multi-layered, and the answer to that is very, very complex, because we don't know what's going to break first and how that is going to be addressed, right? We simply don't know. Is it going to be something over the skies of Los Angeles or Vancouver, British Columbia, and now the government has to respond to that? Okay, it could be something like that and that dramatic. Could it be a document leak? Could Anonymous go and hack some computers at the Department of Defense? That's a possibility. Is there a lone wolf out there that has retrieved documents that the government knows about that is about to blow the lid off of this, and that is out of their control? Is it that? Is it our military itself? Or, probably even more significant and heavier, is it a guy like Avi Loeb? Is it the world of astrophysics, where life is going to be found and seen on a distant planet, a radio telescope picking up something that is headed towards our solar system, our star system, and that it is going to come from the world of science and not from the world of woo and not from the world of the military? Is it going to be something like that? And my answer to that is, it's probably going to be a little bit of everything at the same time, because the drip that we are getting today, again, I'm telling you, it's tangible, that it's warming up everybody for the big drop. And when that drop comes, that we're not alone in the universe, then we've got to figure out how we address it. Is it going to be from this moment forward, or is it contact happened in 1947 with Roswell? You know, and how those not only millions of questions, and probably one of the main ones is, if it's 1947 in Roswell, then how long have you known about free energy? And we've been paying for gas, and we've had starving people on this planet, and we could have applied all of this to farming and electricity and the heating of our schools. And you've been sitting on this technology? That's a complex thing. So will it be contact has happened now? Not in the past, right? That's opening up too big of a can of worms, and that it is going to be addressed now and moving on into the future. And that's why I think it may come from science to take the pressure off of the governments of the world and the fact that they've been sitting on this for so long.
Nicole, you got 3 minutes.
Oh, I don't even need 3 minutes, but I can say you know a lot, and I think the space travelers out there hear our back and forths a little bit, where, you know, this is why I'm in this convergence of science, technology, politics, spirituality, and how this moves not just Canada forward or the United States forward, but how does this truly move us together as, you know, beings of Earth? And I know, Dave, you like to read between the lines in your journalism, you know, use your journalistic skills all the time with this. But, you know, I often find ufology outside of ufology. You know, when you talk to experiencers, whether it's of UFOs or Jesus speaking to a Christian, you know, you can find these similarities. And I think that's really the narrative moving forward. What we all acknowledge in some way, shape, or form, like, oh, these things happen. Oh, you know, oh, you saw a UFO? My friend saw one 60 years ago. It's like become this accepted thing. You know, the consciousness aspects of ufology.
Well, let me
into the future, but just let me finish with this.
Well, actually, Nicole, I'm going to get signed off of my network.
Oh, okay.
So let me sign out. I am going to just bang this out right now, and then we'll pick up that thought because I literally have 90 seconds before we're all cut off. So I'll be right back. I'll see you guys at the top of the hour.
All right, we're going to wait for Jimmy to get done his show. Nicole.
What a great night. Fade to Black. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitola, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and this broadcast on a copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I want to thank Dave Schrader tonight, Dave Scott, Nicole Sakic, Spaced Out Radio. Tomorrow night, Tom Dongo is here. Until then, I want everybody to be safe. It's time to fade to black.